Okay, so continuing with, I don't know, maybe they're not cliff notes, but I just got to share some gems from listening to Mike Rowe's interviews. And this isn't just about Mike Rowe, it's about him. It's not even just about the average or above average or the extraordinary or ordinary people he interviews. It's just about this free-form, I don't want to say no agenda, because there is some agenda probably initially, like an idea, a very basic structure. But then the conversation, just goes. Anyway, so former governor of Texas, Rick Perry. Gosh, I'm going to have to get better at recalling names. He's talking about Ibogaine, which I know nothing about it. I'm going to look it up. I'm not speaking for it or against it. But he's talking about this combat veteran, Marcus Luttrell, who I also don't know anything about. But essentially, there's a whole story behind this guy. But then when Rick Perry is saying, after explaining how Marcus Luttrell lived with him and his wife for a couple of years, he was saying how, there's 25,000, maybe, probably more. That's just such a throw it out there number. Men and women, just like Marcus, who need help after seeing combat. Oh, here's the howlers. Hopefully you can hear me over the hound dogs. Anyway, point being, he said there's, thousands who need help. The only difference about Marcus is that he knew a governor. I'm going to disagree, and here's the gem. I'm not going to disagree, but it's not just that. So Rick says how he's said it to hundreds of soldiers when he's visited troops. If you're ever in Texas, feel free to drop in and say hi. You say it, you don't expect anyone to take you up on it. Well, then one day he's in the, whatever you want to call it, where the governor hangs out during the day and does his governor shit. And someone comes up and says, Governor, there's a young man down on the street, the lobby, and he says you told him to pop in if he was ever in Texas. So Rick's like, I've said that to hundreds of people. And anyway, so begins what he thinks is just going to be, kind of giving this guy a thank you token dinner to this dude living with him and his wife for a couple of years while they chased, in his words, so many rabbits, and in his words, threw Jello at the wall to try to figure out his opioid addiction, his mental health crisis after combat. Anyway, here's my point. Yes, it is because Marcus knew a governor, but that's not the only reason. And I just had this conversation with someone the other day after reading about the woman who was the first woman to complete the Appalachian Trail 3 times in a row. And she did this in her 60s and 70s. Anyway, that's another freaking amazing story. But I had this thought that, people always have said to me, I'm lucky because of the things I've gotten to do and experience. But really, so much of it is simply about, and I feel like I could cry saying this. Whoa, that's perimenopause. It's about saying yes, Rick Perry told hundreds of guys, if you're ever in Texas, look me up. The governor, right? Marcus said yes. Marcus showed up with an unknown outcome, not knowing whether he would be welcomed or whether it would just be like, that was a forgotten moment. And so I guess the gem, which maybe didn't necessarily come from Mike Rowe's interview, but through it, is say yes. I think the greatest courage doesn't necessarily come from people who believe that they are so independent, so self-reliant. And I am guilty of that, you know. I am guilty of just deciding at times in my life, you can't trust anyone else. You can't lean on anyone else. So just do it yourself. Come here, May. We're about to cross a busy highway. And these Michigan folks, they like to drive fast. Anyway, so courage isn't just about being self-reliant and independent and going your own way. I think the most courageous people are the people who say yes. Say yes to help when it's offered. Say yes to unknown invitations when they're extended. Say yes to weird opportunities like, hey, May, come here. Like when I had someone ask me if I wanted to become a shooting instructor, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm so scared of my hunting rifle. I think it's going to blow up when I carry it. But I thought, sure, why not? I guess they can teach me. Go, May, go, faster, faster. Anyway, the gem from listening to Micro interview former governor of Texas, Rick Perry, and there's a lot of gems in there, is Marcus Luttrell. He said yes. And I haven't even listened, so hopefully he's doing well. But I got to finish listening to this interview. Just glad it's cloudy today. Oh, gosh. Okay.